reduce the size of that one. And please let me know when there is 1 or 2 minutes left so I can finish in time. My name is Magnus Jirström. I'm a human geographer from Lund University, Sweden. I'd like to extend my thanks to organizers for giving me this opportunity. I am also a member of the research project, the Eat Addis project, which is a Swedish-Ethiopian project focusing on food and nutrition security in the residential neighborhood food environments of Addis Ababa. And today let's see, why was this not happening? Like that, okay. So today I am going to present findings from a study trying to assess the availability of healthy and unhealthy foods in the residential neighborhoods of Addis. And the study also tries to assess whether food availability is associated with socioeconomic status, wealth in the study of the neighborhood, of the different neighborhoods. So in Addis Ababa, we conducted 2 survey rounds in the entire city, all districts covered. In each district, in both rounds, there was a random sampling of one neighborhood. So in total, in the sample, we have 233 neighborhoods. And in each neighborhood, we used random systematic sampling to identify between 20 and 25 households. And among those households, one was randomly selected and the starting point for the food environment survey. From that household, we walked in all directions for 5 minutes, roughly 300 meters. And within that area, all vendors, food vendors, were surveyed. The food groups we are interested in for the healthy foods adapted from the FAO classification. You have them here to the left. And for the unhealthy ones, we derive that from NOVA classification. And they include, as you can see, several of the ultra-processed food groups. So based on the survey data of more than 2,500 food vendors, we look at availability. And in this study, we look at one aspect, the density and here defined then as the number of vendors in the residential neighborhood selling a certain food group. And for the stratification of neighborhoods according to wealth, we use household data from more than 5,400 households. And in that way, classify neighborhoods according to the lowest wealth, or the middle wealth, and highest wealth, approximately tertiles. For the healthy foods then, this graph shows the number of vendors and the type of vendors selling healthy foods in Addis Ababa. And as you can see, one vendor type, the kiosks, also referred to as souks, are quite dominating for several food groups. But interestingly enough, you can see that for some of the micronutrient-rich food groups, importantly the vitamin A vegetable food and the dark green leafy vegetables, another food seller category, the micro vendors, it's called in Amharic, are very important, quite important. Now, looking at the socioeconomic status and the importance of that, you can see the different wealth categories, the lowest, middle, and highest for each food group here. And overall, it is possible to say that, I think it's fair to say that differences between wealth groups are not marked. they are not very big. For some of the food groups, you can see that the lowest wealth appears to be somewhat less frequently represented in terms of sellers. Now, for the unhealthy foods, the picture is even less complicated. You can see that kiosks, there are in our sample of 233 food environments, more than 1,600 kiosks, and you can see they completely dominate the sale of unhealthy food groups. Particularly, you can see this is the case for the highly processed or the ultra-processed food groups. Now, even in the case of unhealthy food groups, we cannot see any strong association between the wealth of the environment, of the neighborhood, and the supply of food by the retailers. You can note, if you carefully look, that for the lowest wealth group, there is, particularly for the ultra-processed food groups, consistent indication that the lowest wealth, in the lowest wealth environments, there are fewer outlets selling unhealthy food groups. So the take-home messages here are clear and straight, I think, that several important food groups in Addis are actually widely available in all the neighborhoods, and the exception of and maybe the more important exceptions are the vitamin A-rich food groups, which are much less available. And these groups are mainly sold by female micro vendors and in the what we could call informal food sector. Now, for unhealthy food groups, it is also the case that they are available very much so, and here we have the kiosk dominating supply completely, but a high availability in all neighborhoods. And then about the socioeconomic status of the neighborhoods, I think the general picture is that we cannot say that there is a strong association between the wealth of the neighborhood and what is sold and the supply of food groups in the neighborhood. Maybe a little bit for the unhealthy food groups, but nothing more. So that was everything for now, and I'm looking forward to questions, and I'm leaving now for the next presenter.